What's going on, Legionnaires, and welcome back to Comic Breakdown. If you're new to the channel, do me a favor and hit that sub button, hit that notification bell, and make sure you're not missing any of the awesome content that we have coming out. Now, for today's video, we're going to be diving into our Indie Comics Weekend, where we put the spotlight on an indie comic creator and really give them the opportunity to shine. Now, I wanted to let you guys know that we are going to start moving this to 2 comics a weekend. So I will cover at least 2 indie comics starting next week, every weekend. More than likely, one will air on Saturday and the other will air on Sunday. But for this video, we're going to be diving into a line we were following for quite some while. We're going to be diving into Kinetic, issue number 6. This is published by Y Comics. The writer is Bill Collum, line art as Rochelle Cristani, colors is Omni Remalianti. And so far in this line, we have really started to learn more about Kinetic's powers than anything else. There hasn't been as much character building as I would have liked. But yeah, we'll dive into that more as we get into this comic. So with that being said, let's dive into this issue. Alright, so getting into this issue, we have Michelle sitting down on a date with a guy with a man bun. And honestly, I don't understand the context of these first few pages. They really do seem completely unnecessary to the story, to any of it moving forward. Because these two are sitting down and they're having some food, they're having some pizza. And while this is happening, she gets a text from Lauren just asking how the date's going. And these two end up walking home. And as they say goodnight, he turns to Michelle and randomly out of nowhere, just like, yeah, what we were talking about earlier, the gentleman killer. My friend's a cop and he says they're planning a sting operation soon. I feel like there was a much better way to write that dialogue, because essentially that's what these last 3 pages were. We're building up to him saying that one line. We could have seen a conversation at dinner with them actually being able to talk about it and go into more detail there. So in my opinion, that was really a waste of 3 pages, honestly. The first 3 pages of this issue just weren't that fantastic. But as we get into this further, we see the police setting up a sting operation. They have one of their own posing as a prostitute, and they're waiting for the gentleman killer to arrive. Knowing that this is a slim to none chance, they still gotta try something. And lo and behold, the gentleman killer, he arrives. And he immediately grabs her and takes off, saying that he needs to perform some kind of a ritual. And with the suspect taking the bait, the police are getting ready to move in. But this is when we also see Kinetic. Now, he's letting us know that it was pure luck that he even ran into this situation, but he wants to end this tonight. And so he jumps down and goes to make his move, only for all of the police officers to immediately move in and blast them with lights. And our police officer posing as a prostitute draws her gun. And this is where we see them lit up with dozens of police officers having guns drawn on them. And this is when the gentleman killer throws a knife at Kinetic and the police open fire. And so both of them try to make their escape. Kinetic running backwards, heading to his motorcycle, being able to hop on it and speed off. And none of the police officers were able to get plates off of this because he didn't have any. And so they say to set up a perimeter because somebody is going to jail tonight. And with him speeding off, he's in a hot pursuit chase with one of these police officers, only to go down an alley and evade capture for the time being. Now, before Kinetic is able to make his escape, we see the arrival of none other than the Ascender. And he tells Kinetic that he is making quite a name for himself. Now, picking up back with our police officers, we have Simmons and the police chief. And they're sitting here trying to figure out what their best course of action is moving forward. With the media also harping down their neck, trying to get some kind of information. Because yet again, the police have failed to capture the gentleman killer. Now, back in Michelle's apartment, we see her laying on her couch watching the news, seeing that they also are trying to capture Kinetic because he's wanted for questioning after an altercation yesterday. Now, we see a kind of a moment here. Kinetic's wearing a belt, a very unique belt, because this belt was made for him by Michelle. Now, we don't know if she's being able to connect the dots just yet, but it seems like it's only a matter of time before she does figure this out, because Kinetic and her had been friends long before he ended up putting on this suit. Now, this is where we see the Ascender tell Kinetic that he compromised an entire police operation today, and the gentleman killer is still on the loose. And the Ascender tells him he's not here to take him in, but he's here to tell him, to warn him, that he needs to quit while he's ahead. And he tells him, man, like, do you want to end up like the Red Reaper? I'm here to warn you, next time, I may not have a choice in the matter. And Kinetic's getting mad. Like, someone actually is finally stepping up for the South Side, and you crush them down. You could have helped me back there. We could have brought him in together. The South Side also needs a hero. And the Ascender tells him there's no room for vigilante justice in the most Hippocratic way possible. Because he says, except for me. This is how it is, and you will comply. And Kinetic tells him, and what if I don't? And his response is, then we are going to have a problem. And the saying goes, never meet your heroes. Because this is usually the course it goes. It's never something that's great and amazing. You're usually left disappointed and wanting. Now, the Kinetic had found Gentleman Killer's. He had found his lair quite a while ago, but he had been waiting to make his approach on him. Not necessarily understanding why. If you know where the guy is, I don't know why you waited till tonight to come across him, and all by accident. That doesn't really make any sense to me. And so, hoping he hasn't abandoned his base of operations, he takes off, heading down the road only to see a girl screaming for help. What are the chances? Asking where he is, the woman tells him down the alley, and he lays down his bike in the worst way possible and slides down the street. Extremely dramatic and completely unnecessary, but alright, let's go with it. And he tells the woman to get somewhere safe, and this is where we see the Gentleman Killer. And he tells them that it's over, and these two start battling. At one point, Kinetic wanted this guy dead, but now, not anymore. Now he needs to face some justice. And we see Kinetic come down with one of his energy punches and knock out the Gentleman Killer in one punch. Now, realizing he needs to get this guy to the police station, he zip ties his vehicle, or his motorcycle, the muffler, onto the bike. You know, zip ties really do work for everything, so I give it to him in this circumstance. I could definitely see that being plausible and at least getting you from point A to point B. And this is where we see Kinetic zooming off, only to be dropping off the Gentleman Killer with a little note saying, "You're welcome, Kinetic." And the police chief is not happy. Yeah, granted, they got the Gentleman Killer, but now they have to deal with this vigilante. So they want to take him down in any way possible. And so he's having Simon pretty much head up a task force on taking down the vigilante known as Kinetic. And that will be the end of this issue. So let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Personally, I have to say, this comic definitely needs a lot of work. I know there is a Kinetic Identities issue #1 that has come out recently that I did support the Kickstarter for. And so we're going to see, as these progress, hopefully the writing and everything becomes a lot more better. What really grabbed me with these comics was the cover artwork. Because the cover artwork is absolutely phenomenal stuff on every single issue. The only problem with these comics is the dialogue, and some of this stuff just doesn't make sense. Or there's just bad placement. Like I said, the first 3 pages of this were really completely unnecessary dialogue that I felt like could have gone more to building the characters versus just showing us a date that really had no meaning whatsoever. And if you were going to show us something like that, you could have probably done it in 1 page versus 3. But with that being said, I think this comic has a lot of potential. And I really do want to see where it goes. Now, there are 8 issues in this story arc, so we're going to cover the last 2 issues for sure. And then we're going to cover Kinetic's identities, which seems to be a more of a in-depth storytelling on exactly who Kinetic is, because I feel like that's definitely one thing we have been lacking in this comic, is finding out exactly who this guy is. Like, we know he's Kinetic, we know he's got powers, but outside of that, we don't really know much about his life, who he is, what he does. Like, we know his name and some of his family, but outside of that, like, I haven't really been able to connect with this character. Not on the level that I have with some other comics. But yeah, with that being said, let me know what you guys think down in the comments. If you have not yet, please do me a favor, subscribe to this channel, like this video, and until the next issue.